Hello, everybody. It's the Fix It or Feel It podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Clark. Not to brag, this is 2 weeks in a row now. Let's take care of the usual housekeeping right up at the top. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, share, all the things that will help get my voice and my face out to other like-minded people who might need to hear some of the things that I have to say. And together, as always, we will attempt to heal the world, and Lord knows it needs some healing right now. I don't know if you guys have, seen the news, but things aren't going great. We do not need to get into that today. This is a break from all of that stuff, so let's get right into the show. Feels good to get back kind of into the swing of things here. Everything's going pretty well. The thing that is at the forefront of my mind currently is the fact that I'm attempting, trying, and succeeding, I guess, in starting to date again. I have been going on dates. Dating in the modern world is, I don't know, for all the people who have been in long-term relationships before the apps were a thing, God bless you. You guys figured it out. I'm not so far on one side of the spectrum where I absolutely hate them and I'm like, being on them is literally killing me. But there's a lot of things about them that are pretty shitty. But all of that aside, the reason that I have decided to start dating again is not actually because I feel super ready to jump into something serious. If that did happen, I would certainly be open to it. I love love. I would love to find my person, whatever the hell that means. My partner, my teammate in life. That is something that I really do enjoy. I love being in a relationship. I really didn't start dating until I was about 30 years old. I was pretty stunted in that way. My entire 20s were about one thing and one thing only, and that was getting as fucked up as humanly possible. I really did not have a lot of interest in dating. I also did not have a lot of self-esteem. I didn't feel great about myself, and the easiest way to avoid rejection or avoid someone confirming the suspicions that I was a piece of shit by rejecting me was to just take myself off the table. If I don't make myself available, I won't have to deal with any of it. Although I do remember times that I was out at a bar drinking and a woman being like, "Hey, do you want to get out of here?" And me being like, "The bar's still open. Why would we leave now? There's 3 more hours to drink. We can get out of here once they stop serving us." So in a way, I am still learning how to be in a long-term relationship, but I do love it. In my last relationship, it's the one that I felt the most capable of being a partner. I really like to distinguish the difference for both myself and my clients between being happy, being content, and flourishing. I actually have a tattoo on my skin of the Greek word eudaimonia, which is the idea of flourishing. It was Aristotle's idea that that is the entire goal of human life, is to not just be happy, but to flourish. Oftentimes, I could spend an entire 48 hours in bed with nothing but a vape pen and Netflix and a credit card hooked up to Uber Eats and be pretty damn happy. But I'm not quite flourishing. I'm not living my best life, as they would say. And I noticed recently that I was able to kind of discern that difference between when I'm single and alone. I feel pretty happy and content because I like being in control of everything that I do and eat and listen to and watch. And I find a lot of safety in solitude. But I do fully feel like I am flourishing when I have some of those freedoms along with being a teammate to somebody. The fulfillment I get from being all in with somebody doing life together really feels like something else is happening. I'm not just living, I am thriving or flourishing. So that is part of the reason that I want to start dating again. I love that feeling. But the main reason that I decided to start was because of kind of that feeling of being alone being so comfortable for me. When you're alone for so long, you really do get used to that freedom and you start to actually become so rigid, or I noticed this rigidity in myself, this resistance to trying new things or stepping out of my comfort zone or just going outside when I don't have to. And as much as I love being in a relationship, the more time I spend alone, the harder time I have blending my life with somebody when the time does come. So I need to practice being with people. I need to practice looking at a menu and deciding together what we want. Oh, you want the shrimp and grits? Not really what I was looking for, but I'll order them anyway. Like small things like that can really feel like big things when you've been by yourself for so long and so in control of every decision you make. Ultimately, we get good at what we practice. And if you practice being by yourself and only thinking about yourself and the things that you want, that is what you will get good at. And that is the thing that your brain will crave. And the other reason is that I am so comfortable kind of not doing anything other than going to work, going to the gym, going to the grocery store. And that is not quite what I would call flourishing either. It feels good at the time, but it also kind of puts you in this closed circuit loop. And it can actually get me kind of ruminating and thinking about myself way too much in a not destructive way, but like trying to diagnose myself over and over again and figure out why I'm feeling how I'm feeling on a certain day, and thinking about my goals and my job and all the things that I have to do in a day. And without new experiences, you kind of get stuck in that loop. If I'm only living a life where I'm thinking about my own brain, that's the only thing that my own brain is experiencing is itself. So getting some new people in the mix and doing things that I wouldn't normally do is a really healthy thing to do. And while this isn't what I would call like a creative endeavor, I'm not like writing movies or making art, there is an aspect of creativity to the things that I want to make in social media and content creation, and getting out and experiencing life kind of flicks on some of those lights and it opens new doors for things that I can think to create. I was listening to a podcast with a famous improviser, and he was talking about how his first 3 years of improvising, he kind of found himself going towards a lot of the same jokes and a lot of the same structure of all of his scenes. And he talked to his teacher about it, and she was like, "Tell me about your day." And basically he was like, "Well, I wake up and I go to work, and then I come here and I also work here. And then after work, I stay and I watch some of the shows." And she's like, "You're only living the life of an improv comedian. You have nothing to improvise on." She's like, "Go to the zoo. Go make a new connection in your brain." Like, my neighborhood is a circle. If I keep walking only that circle, I keep seeing the same houses and the same people and the same dogs all the time. And sometimes it's nice to go see a fucking beach or a different tree. So the thing that I've been thinking about a lot since I've been starting to date is kind of my strategy, I guess. I don't like the word strategy, but like what am I looking for in a partner? What are the things, like, aside from the common things, am I attracted to them? Are they kind? Do they have a large extended family? Because if so, that's a fucking deal breaker for me. I am not going to family reunions. I kind of have this tendency to romanticize romance in a weird way. Like I said, I love love. I was a little bit raised by TV. I grew up with Zach and Kelly and Corey and Topanga, and this idea that there will eventually be this one person that is cosmically made for me. And I don't think that's probably the healthiest approach. I do tend to kind of look for that magic. I have experienced it a couple times in my life on like a second date where you really do feel like a movie where the whole world stops around you and there is like nothing on earth but you and this other person. And it's the greatest feeling in the entire world. None of those relationships worked out in the long term. But I have also dabbled in trying to see if that feeling is something that you can grow and foster. I was dating somebody for a few months, a few years ago, and she checked every single one of my boxes. Everything about her was great, but the only thing that was missing was whatever that ineffable, intangible thing that love is, whatever that like switch that flicks on in your brain where you're like, oh, something's happening here. So I, having thought about this before, was like, well, let's see. Let's see if something beautiful can kind of grow from something that feels a little boring, which she was not boring. She was lovely. And basically what ended up happening is that it sucked for the both of us. I did not like the feeling of kind of having to fake it. She liked me way more than I liked her. And she could smell it on me. You know, when you are feeling that strongly about somebody and it's not reciprocated, you can tell. So it sucked for her and it sucked for me. And it was a lesson that I kind of learned in, okay, number one, I'm not so sure that that type of attraction can be grown if it's not there at first for me. And also the lesson that sometimes it's the kinder thing to do is to let somebody go, even though it feels mean to break up with somebody, but it's not an actually mean thing to do. Saying I don't want to be with you anymore is not a mean thing to say. It's a sucky thing to hear for the other person, but it's not a mean thing to say. So I guess right now I am experimenting with which one of those things I want to look for or which one of those things I'm open to finding. The truth is probably that like what I really want lies somewhere in between those two things. In a real, legitimately corny ass way, I do kind of believe that love is like the only real magic that exists in the world. And fucking A, I want to live in a world where magic exists. So that's where I'm at with that. And then when you start dating again, it kind of opens up some avenues to think about where your relationships have failed in the past. So that has been going on in my head a little bit lately. One of the things that I have to keep the closest eye on, which is, I mean, a little embarrassing to admit, I've certainly gotten better at it, but I can fall into this dynamic if I allow myself to. And it kind of stems from the fact that, sorry, Mom, I know you're listening, but that I have what I call an overloving mother. My mom loves me so much and has for my entire life that I kind of expect the woman that I choose to be in my life to love me as much, if not more, which is an impossible standard. And it's not even a standard that I actually want. So my mom has spent basically my entire life up to and including now telling me how amazing and special and fantastic I am at every turn. And what has happened in some of my older relationships, like when I really first started dating and I didn't know any of this stuff yet, is that we'd be like sitting on the couch together or whatever. And I'm like, oh, she's not telling me how amazing and special and fantastic I am right now. She must be mad at me. Something's wrong. It would just play out in like the most classic, like dumb boyfriend way of just like, what's wrong? And she's like, nothing's wrong. I'm like, clearly something's wrong. You know, just like, what a bummer of a person to be with. I was actually joking around with my therapist a while ago about this topic. And I was telling her, like, if I wrote a book titled, Mom, I think we should see other people, my mom's first reaction would be, can you sign my copy? So I don't do that anymore, but I will say that I have a tendency of like when I really do love somebody so much and I've declared them my person, there are times if I don't get the specific kind of attention that I want, that I feel like I need at the time, I will kind of start to feel myself disappearing off the face of the earth. I kind of envision it like the picture in Back to the Future where Marty's siblings are just like fading away. I've gotten to the point with that where I'm okay with it, but it's just something that I communicate. I don't need, hey, you're amazing and special and fantastic. Sometimes I just need like a hand on an arm that's like, hey, I see you and I know you're there. I'm very enthralled in a conversation with this other person right now, but I haven't forgot that you are here. That does feel a little unrelated right now, but that is just something that I've been thinking about because it is something that I often have to keep an eye on in my relationships. And I actually learned that about myself from listening to a podcast where somebody was talking about that exact same thing. So if that helps turn on some lights for some other bros out there with moms that love them too much, then mission accomplished. I think that's a good place to leave it for today after a nice quality overshare. I also have to get to my real job. So thanks everybody for showing up. Please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll do my part and I'll keep putting this guy out here. You do your part and share it with everyone you know. Weigh in on the comments about your dating preferences or any advice you guys have. I'm very open to hearing any of it. I am turning 38 next week and still single, so Lord knows I need it. I hope everybody has a beautiful day, and I will see y'all later. Bye-bye.